I have a skein of pure luxury. This is hand-dyed, 100% honey Tussah silk. And I'm thinking something this incredible should probably be touching my neck at all times, right? So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to knit myself a cowl out of this wonderful yarn. Now, if you're wondering what kind of cowl, welcome to my channel. I'm Wolf, and I do stuff and things, and I do them my own way. I am not going to use a pattern, or at least not a pattern for a cowl. I have 3 stitch pattern books, and I'm going to go through them, see if anything speaks to me, and go from there. So the first book I'm going to peruse is, of course, the Hitomi Shida. I am not particularly hopeful about this one. I find most of her patterns are very dense and very cabley. For me, they feel more like a sweater type of stitch pattern. You don't have to agree with me. It's just not really a vibe I'm going for this. I'll still look at it. You never know, but I'm not too hopeful about this one. And then I have the Japanese Lace Stitches Dictionary from Nihon Vogue. That's another Japanese pattern book, and this one I'm very hopeful for. I am looking for some kind of lace pattern, and I'm already seeing some that might just work. Hopefully I can find something here. And I also have the Japanese Knitting and Crochet Stitches Dictionary. This is also from Nihon Vogue. And this one is a bit of a hit and miss. I tend to use it more for crochet patterns, but it does have some really good knitting patterns too. We'll see, maybe something will strike my fancy here, who knows? And if you're wondering why are they all Japanese, well, I love charts. I don't like knitting from word instructions. It just feels like word soup, and I do not have the patience. I like the charts because I can just glance at it and it makes sense to my little cabbage, and then I can just go from there. And if I need to reference it back in the middle of a row, I can easily see where I am just from the way it looks, as opposed to written instructions where you need to figure out where on the 5-line paragraph you might be. I don't know, just not my thing. If it's your thing, great. Yeah, so if you're like me and you like charts, then Japanese stitch dictionaries are for you. So yeah, I'm gonna start digging through this. Then I'm gonna turn this into a cake. And then I'm gonna swatch. And then we're gonna decide what we're doing and how. So picking out a pattern was kind of easy. I saw one, I fell in love with it. After seeing it, nothing else felt interesting. So if this doesn't work, I'm gonna have to go through the process again. It's in the Japanese Lace Stitches by Nihon Vogue. It's number 49, which is on page 34, in case you have the same book and also want the pattern. So I didn't expect this, but winding this, it felt like it was gonna go forever. It's only 50 grams. Actually, oh, it's 57 grams because it's 2 ounces. But it's lace weight, which means it's like around 660 yards or like 610 meters. It is so gorgeous. This cake is very squishy. Okay, how much can I flatten this? I mean, quite a bit. And then I can make it very tall. I'm just playing with it because I like it. So the label says to use 1.5 to 2.25 millimeter needles. So in US sizes, that's 000 to 1. So I think I'm just gonna start with US 0, which is 2 millimeters, and C. In case you're wondering, I almost always do the German twisted cast on. I think it's also known as Old Norwegian. It's just a cast on I use for everything. I used to experiment with all kinds of cast ons, and then eventually I was just like, none of this is worth my time. especially all of the tubular ones where you have to like go across 5 times to get anything done. Like German twisted just looks good enough for me, so that's what I always do. I've never knit with pure silk before. I've knit with sock yarn that had some silk in it. I think usually it's not more than like 20%. And I feel like at that point it's still just sock yarn. It doesn't really differ that much, at least as far as like the knitting experience goes. What I can say already, just knitting my first row, is that silk feels very slippery, which is probably not a surprise to anybody. I don't know if I'm going to be able to memorize this. This is a 28 row repeat. But the yarn is very delightful to knit with. But I'm still not sure if I'm going to have to go up a needle size or not. I really have no idea what to expect out of the fabric. We're just going to have to keep swatching until I'm happy with it, I guess. So this will probably take a good forever and a half. So I'm going to get at least 1 or 2 repeats in, and we're going to catch up then. So that did take a forever and a half. As I pull out the world's longest needle, it'll work better because I will be knitting in the round, I think. But I have 1 repeat done, and you can finally start seeing the pattern emerging. I think I love the fabric as is. I want to knit 1 more repeat, and then I'm going to wash it and block it, actually pin it out. And like I do this even with wool, like I'm very comfortable working with wool, but still every single time I swatch and make sure everything works fine, just to make sure there's no surprises. Not that I ever expect surprises, but you never know, right? Yeah, I am obsessed with the colors, and I'm obsessed with the softness, and I think this is going to be wonderful and drapey, and I'm already so excited. Let me see if I can show it to you a little bit better. I don't think the camera is doing the colors justice. The backside looks very silly, but also kind of interesting. You have these like weird shapes and columns. Oh, something I do want to say. So these little centers where everything crosses over, the cable is so annoying because you hold 2 stitches in the front and 2 stitches in the back, and then you knit 2, and then you pull the ones from the back and purl them, and then you knit the ones from the front. And the stitches are very tiny. Normally I would cable without a cable needle, but just because there's the front and the back and all of that, and the yarn is very slippery because it's 100% silk. Yeah, I am using my bulb safety pins again as cable needles because I just don't even know what else I would use. Alrighty, see you when the swatch is done and dry and all of those things, and then we're going to talk about everything else. Hold on a second. So before I have the swatch ready and we can move on, let me go back and explain what honey tussah silk even is. Let's start from the end and work our way backwards. So silk is obtained from the cocoons of silk moths. And when I say that, you may be thinking about sericulture, which is the practice of growing fully domesticated silk moths. Their name is Bombyx mori. And when I say domesticated, I mean they're domesticated. They can't really survive on their own. They no longer have color, so they can't really blend with their environment. They still have wings, but they can't fly, which means they need help just finding a mate. They can't really get around. The wild moth they were domesticated from is still around. I think it's called Bombyx mandarina. Now, a cocoon is basically just one long strand of silk, which means that usually, unfortunately, the cocoons are boiled, so the larvae die, and the silk is unraveled in one long strand. Fun fact, the boiled larva can be eaten, so, waste not, want not. If that makes you too sad, and it definitely makes me very sad, there exists silk that is cruelty-free, so you can always look for that. And in those cases, the larvae are allowed to chew their way out of the cocoon. So the resulting silk is supposedly not as high quality, but personally, I think it's probably still perfectly fine and great. Now, that's what you would normally think of when somebody says silk. Tussah silk is a type of wild silk. I had no idea this was a thing, even when I bought this yarn. So it turns out there's wild silk moths, and their cocoons are collected in forests. There's different kinds. Tussah silk particularly comes from the larvae of genus Antheria silkworms. And since the moths are wild, they kind of eat whatever they want, but seem to like tannin-rich leaves, like, for example, oak. And this is what gives Tussah silk a natural golden color. So this is where we work all our way back to the beginning. Honey Tussah silk just means it hasn't been bleached. Supposedly, Tussah is said to be a bit more textured than sericulture silk and therefore easier to spin. I do have a sample of Tussah silk in my stash for spinning, but I haven't tried it yet, nor have I tried spinning sericulture silk yet either, so I can't really confirm nor deny. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed my artistic rendition of Pantheria moth. They come in a lot of shapes and colors. I don't know if all of them make cocoons that are usable, but I know at least a few of them are. So again, like I don't know if it's a whole genus or just a few. So I tried to just aim for the ones that do. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed my process of drawing one. I definitely enjoy making these little informational segments with a little bit of my art mixed in. And let's go back and check in on the swatch. So the swatch is blocked and dry. I would like to do just a tiny little bit of math to see just how much can I make out of this and plan ahead just so that I can cast on, because I really want to cast on as soon as I can. Let's get my box of pins. There we go. Let's get this unpinned. I have no idea how I'm gonna block this when it's a cowl. Not quite sure how you pin 2 layers of lace at the same time, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I'm very happy with the pattern I chose. It looks great. Ooh, actually, hold on. It's not as drapey. Weird. So usually with wool, once you wash it and you block it, it becomes more drapey. But this seems to have become less drapey. It is very light and airy, so that's really nice. Because I do want to make it very tall so that it scrunches down. So this wonderful lace pattern that I really love is probably kind of a moot point anyway. I don't know how much of that is going to be visible, but I'm going to know it's there, and that's kind of all that matters. It's light, but it just kind of wants to stick up. That's weird. I'm kind of hoping that once I wear it a little bit, it'll start scrunching a little bit nicer, but we're going to see. We're going to see. The first thing I want to do is I want to weigh this and measure what area of fabric I made for the amount of yarn. And then I can calculate the total area I can make out of this cake. I probably should have waited before I washed it and all of that. It shouldn't make much of a difference, like this doesn't really have any like spinning oils or anything like that in it. So I think it's gonna be fine, but this is probably gonna be a very small amount, so it's not gonna be an accurate measurement whatsoever. 2.5 grams, okay. I did not bring a ruler, hold on. Ruler. I keep looking at the backside because it also looks very interesting. Did I show you the backside? I don't think I did. I showed it before blocking. So we have, ooh, 5.5. I know I'm doing inches and grams together. I'm sorry. I'm originally European, but I now live in the US. And also I was trained as a physicist, so none of it really matters. Use whatever makes sense to you, as long as your math is correct. It's fine, don't worry about it. But also please don't be upset with me. I know it's weird. It is what it is, okay? I'm doing my best. What is a 5/8? See, this is why I don't like American measurements. I should have just done centimeters, but I don't have a centimeter ruler like this, so. Let's say 25.4 square inches per 2.5 grams. The whole cake. 56.7. Yeah, so let's round this down to 570 square inches total area from this entire ball of yarn. Now, let's talk about what it is that I'm making and what I'm thinking. So I've had this, I think it's called a neck gaiter for, it has to be at least 15 years. Could it be 15 years? It's something like that. It's at least a decade and probably some change. So let's say 10 to 15 years. And it's fine. I mean, it's knit fabric that's not even finished. It's just loose knit stitches. It's like starting to fray a tiny bit, but because knit fabric doesn't really fray, it's fine. It's probably some kind of synthetic fiber. I would highly doubt there's anything natural in here. Maybe a little bit of cotton. Which, like, there's nothing like that wrong with this. The way I use it, I just kind of pop it on my neck, just more for emotional support than for like any kind of, you know, covering from the elements or anything. I use it a lot, but it's just nothing special other than, you know, I've had it for a long time. I would like to have something that actually brings me a lot of joy every time I wear it. But all of that said, this is roughly what I'm aiming for, ish. I'm thinking I might want it a little bit wider and maybe not as tall. I don't know if this is gonna drape as much. I'm just gonna go for it. And if I don't use all of it, then I'm gonna find something else to do with it. But I think I really want to cast this on, so I think I need to just make decisions. What do I do with this? Do I want to keep it? Maybe I'll sew it to something? As you can see, I don't normally break the yarn from my swatches. I tend to unravel them a lot, especially if I'm not sure I'm gonna have enough yarn. But in this case, I feel very confident that I'm gonna have more than enough. This is just so pretty. Maybe I can sew it to a piece of black fabric, maybe? And then incorporate it into some kind of sewing project. That could be fun. So 168 stitches. That is a lot of stitches to cast on. I'm gonna do that off camera. It's gonna take forever. I will be putting bulb stitch markers every repeat so that I don't have to count for more than 14. Then I'm gonna do 12 of those and just start knitting. First warm day of summer. I'm really enjoying it. So this is the progress of a couple of hours before bed and then a few hours the next morning while I was battling some audio issues in my latest video. So audio and I just aren't friends whatsoever. I don't know what it is. I don't know what things are supposed to sound like. It's all way too complicated and it seems like nobody ever wants to explain anything. Ugh, I don't like audio. I'm sorry. If you're an audiophile, I don't know how you get through the frustrating parts. It's just, not for me. I'm doing my dang best. I hope my videos sound okay. So far, people who understand audio have been telling me that they've been fine. I'm holding on to the hope that they are actually fine. But yeah, this is a slow process. This cowl is gonna take me a while, I think. I panicked a little bit it wasn't gonna fit on my head, but it does. There's a few things as to why this is going so slowly. For one, even though I'm holding my needles very loosely, I'm knitting very loosely, it's taking a toll on my hands a bit more than usual. I haven't quite figured out why. Maybe it's because it's extremely slippery. I realized that I can't put it down partway through a row. It's so slippery that the needle will slip out as I'm taking the project out of the bag. And yes, I found out the hard way. That was not pleasant. Another thing is I realized that the repeats, I have the repeats marked with my bulb stitch markers as usual. There are some decreases that span the division between repeats, which also means there's decreases that are like right here at the divisions for the magic loop. So that's very annoying because then you have to like move one stitch over and all of that. I'm thinking I might move my beginning of the round over. I don't know. I'm still thinking about it. Other than that, I am loving how this is knitting up. I am loving how the fabric feels. I'm loving the fiber and I love the color. Did I say I love the colors? I freaking love the colors. The colors are just incredible. So I'm gonna knit a little bit and we're gonna hang out in this outside on this wonderful day. I'm not gonna make a lot of progress. I'm having a little bit of hands rest day today, but I'm hoping to get a row or two in. I don't have that much time, but should be enough for a little bit of knitting. Oh, I have this in my pocket for some reason. So it's been almost a week since I started this project, and I'm not that far. I have about a repeat and almost a half done. I really need to pick the pace on this one because I have other projects that I really want to do that the yarn just arrived for. I started this to just keep my hands busy until that happens. I may have mentioned that there's some decreases that happen right across the divisions between repeats and also like where my magic loop splits. I kept trying to find a good spot to shift the start of the row and all of the repeats, but I haven't found one. It's always either a cable or a decrease that just always happens there. Yeah, I'm just dealing with it as is, just shuffling a stitch back and forth as needed. Happens a few times in a repeat, so it's a bit annoying, but oh well. Another thing is, as I was finishing up the first repeat, I realized I made a mistake in my swatch. The legend for the pattern only had one cable, so I assumed all the cables were the same, so it crosses this way, and then it crosses this way here as well. Oops, goodbye. But that's actually not what's supposed to happen. So I'm glad I noticed, and I fixed it. The first one slants this way, but then the next one slants the other way. I don't think anybody would even notice. But yeah, I definitely noticed that the symbol was different in the chart. It's just not in the legend, so. Oh well, it's fine. It would have been fine the other way as well. Like, it's really not a big deal. So yeah, there's definitely a stripiness coming in, and I wonder if it's gonna keep up the same way as it is. Right now it seems just spot on consistent, even though this is hand-dyed yarn, and again, like, I'm not a knitting machine, so with those two together you would think it would shift across the project. So we're gonna see if that happens. Yeah, it might have already shifted a little bit, it's just that the repeat isn't fully finished, so you can't quite see how it settles into the rest of it. I'm still in love with the colors, I'm still in love with the fabric. I'm still very excited to have it. You see me wearing this one today. I went for a little hike and it was a little bit cold in the morning. I'm hoping this is gonna be light and airy enough that I can wear it in the summer. I still don't even know how you block a lace cowl. So if I block it just like flat, then I'm gonna have seams on the sides, right? Well, seams, the fold, I guess. So yeah, a lot of things I don't quite have a solution to. So they're kind of sitting there in the cabbage being like, what am I gonna do? But I'll figure it out. Well, I'm gonna keep knitting. Quick project, my buns. It's been another week exactly. You can probably see this. Woo! Is it hand-dyed goes wee, or is it my tension goes wee? I don't know which one it is. I do not know who the culprit is. As you can see, the first week was about this much. The rest has been this last week. I said I need to pick up the pace, and I really, really did. So here's the thing. I'm not quite sure how far I want to go. I think if I compare it to this gaiter, it's about halfway, but this is without being blocked, which obviously will stretch it out. I could stop around this repeat or maybe the next one, and that would get me around halfway in terms of how much yarn I have. We can try it on actually. I'm very curious. Oh no, the mic is probably getting jangled. It's great, isn't it? I think maybe I'll do, I don't know, 2 to 3 more repeats, roughly. But it's already a great mask in case you don't want to be seen. I like it. I'm really enjoying it. If all goes well, I have maybe a couple of days left on this, and then I can block it, and then we can finally see what it's gonna look like. Hi, Muffin. Hello. The cats are very active. It's an hour to food time, so, oh, there they go. It is done. It's time to block it. See you in 30 minutes. Why is it so hard to open? That looks very milky, but I think it's just air bubbles. Oh, it smells it smells like tea. Okay, I'm gonna block this the same way I do wool. So, you know, I soaked it with some soak, because I guess me named it. So yeah, I soaked it in here, and I'm gonna squish out any excess water. Squish, squish, squish. Ta-da! Now, I was thinking, since this is a cowl, the best way to block this is to just put it on. There you go. And now I'm just gonna wear it until it's dry. That was a joke. I did think a lot about how to block this, because if I just pin it down the way I did with the swatch, just flat, I'm gonna end up with 2 seams. Now, there's a lot of ways of getting rid of those seams. So some people put pool noodles in just to kind of round out the edges. I don't have any pool noodles, so it just feels weird buying them. Don't really have anything else I could think of that would function the same way. But what I do have is this. This is one of those things that you use to roll your back and massage it out, featuring some chunks missing, because if my cats can sink their teeth into something, they're gonna do it. And if they can't, they're gonna try anyway. So I have this, holes and all, and I wonder if I can just make it thicker by rolling it in a towel. And I know the towel is a little bit wet and that's gonna slow down the drying, but whatever. I can't be bothered getting another one. Yeah, this didn't add very much, so let's fold it. If I do this, so this gives me a little bit more height. And then we roll this. Let's see if this did anything whatsoever. Okay, well, it's not gonna be as neatly blocked as it was when I was able to pin it flat and really stretch it out, but I think this will work. I actually don't even think I need to pin this. I might give it a couple of pins just so that it doesn't fall off unexpectedly, but I think we're gonna be fine without actually pinning everything. Really, the pins don't wanna go through the towel. It's like 4 layers. There you go. Do we think it's gonna be good? I think it will be. We're gonna find out. I will see you in the reveal. back inside because the outside stinks. Low tide plus hot weather, not good. I do not recommend. I absolutely love this thing. It is so airy and drapey, and the colors are so nice, and the lace just so good. I have about 23 grams of this yarn left. I'm gonna make probably another cowl or a little scarf for myself later. So a couple of notes before we part ways. I really didn't know that much about silk when I started this project. I thought there was only one domesticated species. I think that was Bombyx mori. But I have since found out, and this was since I recorded the voiceover, I found out that airy silk is also completely domesticated. So that's also super cool. And then I drew an Antheria moth, and I have since found out that I believe Muga silk comes from a very specific species of Antheria moth. So hopefully I drew the correct one and not the specific one. I have also since found out so many cool things. There's so many different kinds of silk moths, and it's just taking every single fiber in my being, just being all tense and guarding me from just going down the rabbit hole and doing nothing but reading about moths and drawing moths, because some of them are so cool. I think there was one in Madagascar that can also be, like, their cocoons can also be harvested for silk, and their wings are see-through, like actually like frosted glass see-through. They look magical and just entirely not real. I love moths. I was really not that into silk. And now that I found out there's so many different cool moths I can learn about, I'm a lot more excited about silk, and now I want to try all different kinds of silk. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you also learned something cool, just like I did. And even though it was kind of a simple project, I hope it was still fun to watch. So yeah, if you'd like to see more fiber arts nonsense I get up to, and more fiber arts learning that I get up to, and more fiber-related drawings that I do, please subscribe and give me a like or a comment. That really, really helps grow my teeny tiny channel. At the time of speaking, I'm finally approaching 100 subscribers. As usual, I'm going to have the current number of subscribers at the time of posting in the description down below. All that said, thank you so, so much for sticking through this whole thing, and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.